and the culture I'm doing my speech on is hippie culture. So the hippie movement was a huge movement in the 1960s and the 70s, early 70s, and a lot of people know about hippie culture. Like, we see a lot of the culture still in today, but a lot of people don't know where it came from, how it was in its height, and the downfall of the hippie movement. So the hippie movement was a counterculture that fought against social norms. They fought for civil rights, they fought against the Vietnam War, and they had a rising distaste for values of mainstream society. And a lot of their core values were things like peace, freedom, love, rejecting social norms, community living, exploration of society, and being a voice for change. They fell due to a lot of issues that came up eventually, like crime, homelessness, and drug abuse. So the hippies emerged in the 1960s as a counter movement to the traditional values of the 1950s. History.com said that they descended from an earlier form of counterculture called the Beat Generation, which their purpose was also to reject social norms like capitalism, consumerism, and materialism. And the hippies believed in those values as well, but they added things like being anti-war, recreational drug use, communal living, and free love. Another big part of hippie culture was music and fashion. HippiePlanet.com said that music expressed emotional, spiritual, and political beliefs. Another big part of hippies was their fashion, and they believed in things like sustainable fashion, getting rid of the divide between women and men. And you can see in this photo that they wear a lot of bright colors, they have long hair, and they don't really have like gendered clothes. They're more just like clothes for everybody, and everybody kind of wears very similar clothes. So the peak of the hippie movement was the Summer of Love in 1967 and August 1969 at the Woodstock Music Festival. So the Summer of Love was in San Francisco, mainly in the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood. Britannica.com said that we often hear about drugs, sex, and rock and roll in the Summer of Love, but it also included things like flowers, posters, fashion, art, theater, panhandling, and freedom. So the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood pulled a lot of hippies to that area, and they believed in community, nature, art, freedom, and another big part of the hippie culture was the Woodstock Music Festival, which History.com says was a music festival and a hub for ideas of peace, love, freedom, and togetherness despite the Vietnam War. And I have a clip of the Woodstock Music Festival, and it just has people dancing, hippies dancing. And then I also have an infographic about Woodstock, and it says it was a 3-day-long festival. It had made $1.3 million in sales, and it was $18 for a 3-day ticket. There was 500,000 hippies there, and there was 80 arrests, but none of them were acts of violence, which kind of shows that hippies were very non-violent people. So the fall of the hippies happened mainly because of drug use and homelessness. History.com said that the Summer of Love was the beginning of the end for the hippie movement. Drug abuse, homelessness, and crime took over the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood. Basically, it pushed out residents of the neighborhood, and it kind of put a bad taste in people's mouth about hippies because the way that they didn't really have their core values anymore, and it was more about drug use. In conclusion, hippies had a very lasting impact. They believed in peace, love, freedom, and anti-war, and they challenged mainstream society. They had a rise due to the Beat Generation. Their peak was at the Woodstock Festival and in the Haight-Ashbury neighborhood during the Summer of Love, and they fell because of drug use, crime, and homelessness. They pushed for change with social issues such as civil rights, capitalism, war, and women's rights. And they're still around today with things like organic grocery stores, a more casual mindset about sex, music, and environmentalism. And now, because of the hippies, we have a more progressive and compassionate America.